Well, thank you very much for coming today. I will be joined, my name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. You'll hear after myself from Sheriff Robert Luna of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and then Jim McDonnell, the Chief of the Los Angeles Police Department. Before I announce the charges, the state charges that have been brought that are tied to these immigration protests, let me first put an overview about the charges. The complaints and the information you will hear about the charges today are not evidence. Evidence has to be presented in a court of law. An individual is presumed innocent until and unless they are proved guilty in that court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. So the discussion of the charges today is just that. It's a discussion of charges and not ultimately, or it does not ultimately constitute evidence of the crimes that will be presented in a court of law. So I first want to start out with a thank you. On behalf of the District Attorney's Office, I want to thank the hundreds of law enforcement officers from the LAPD, from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, from their related law enforcement agencies that have come to Los Angeles to help out in this situation. It is not a situation, certainly, that law enforcement intended to actually have happen. Both the District Attorney's Office, the LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Department, and local law enforcement do not participate in federal civil immigration enforcement. I want to make that crystal clear. We were not alerted ahead of time that this was going to happen. We were not involved in the participation of it or the staging of it. We are not involved at all with respect to federal civil immigration enforcement. What happened, though, is that though the law enforcement has done its absolute best to protect individuals who wanted legitimately to protest, to use their First Amendment rights of speech, to peacefully assemble. And when I say law enforcement has worked incredibly hard, they have worked overtime to make sure that people who want to engage in this legitimate protest have the opportunity to do so. The District Attorney's Office equally will fiercely protect people's rights to peacefully assemble and peacefully engage in First Amendment protected speech. However, when that speech crosses over from protected speech into illegal conduct, the people who engage in that illegal conduct will be prosecuted. They will first be arrested, they will be prosecuted, and they will be punished to the full extent of the law. We have said this repeatedly. We've said this as a warning to people who are thinking about conducting these illegal acts, pretending that they are engaged in protests, but at the moment they engage in the illegal acts, they are no longer legitimate First Amendment protesters. They are criminals, and they will be prosecuted as criminals. If people want to hurl insults, we will protect that. If people want to engage in crimes, we will prosecute them. So hurling bricks, hurling cinder blocks, hurling fireworks will not be tolerated in this county, now or ever. So when we talk about the cases that we are brought, I'm going to highlight 5 cases today that we have brought in order to, again, not to give an example of the types of cases that we are bringing, and as importantly, the types of potential criminal consequences the individuals who've engaged in this criminal activity will face. And in saying that, we will be having literally dozens and dozens of additional cases that will be brought to us from law enforcement to consider filing. In the weeks to come, we will look through all those cases. And by the way, as a quick aside, for any individual who's engaged in criminal conduct but did not get immediately arrested, let me provide some bad news for you. There's a tremendous amount of video out there through social media and otherwise. We will know who you are, who engaged in this conduct. We will track you down, we will arrest you, we will prosecute you, and we will punish you. So, for people who've already engaged in this illegal activity, we're coming for you. For people who are thinking that maybe this is a good idea to do, please take this as your warning. That if you engage in this conduct, please don't come to us afterwards and say, we didn't think anything was going to happen to us, because those prosecutions will occur. And again, before I go into the examples, let me give you one more overview. If you only saw the social media and the media reports of what's gone on over the last 5 days, you would think that Los Angeles is on the verge of war, that we are truly being attacked repeatedly over and over and over again, because that has been the media's message to both people in Los Angeles, to people in the state of California, to people in this nation, to people throughout this entire world. That somehow, every second of every day, there's another exploding firework on our street, that motorcycles are running into cops, that stores are being looted, that buildings are being vandalized and graffitied. But let me put this in perspective for you. There are 11 million people in this county, 4 million of which live in Los Angeles City. We estimate that there's probably thousands of people who've engaged in legitimate protests, let's say 4,000 people. That means that 99.9% of people who live in Los Angeles City or generally in Los Angeles County have not engaged in any protest at all. Now, amongst the people who've engaged in protests, we estimate there are hundreds of people, let's say up to maybe 400 to use rough percentages, who've engaged in this type of illegal activity. So what does that mean? That means that 99.99% of people who live in Los Angeles City or live in Los Angeles County have not committed any illegal acts in connection with this protest whatsoever. So let's put that as a context when we look at these images over and over again that the media wants to put out there to try and scare us all. And then understand what the resources that we can bring, that law enforcement can bring to this task. The Los Angeles Police Department has over 8,500 officers. Sheriff Luna has over 9,000 officers. The California Highway Patrol, the local law enforcement agencies that have all been enlisted and have been so generous in helping us out, bring additional thousands of officers if needed for any level of civil unrest that might occur. And that civil unrest has been on a downward trend over the last several days, but these law enforcement officers are absolutely ready for anything that comes their way. So let me describe these 5 cases. The first case involves an individual who's been charged. His name is Juan Rodriguez. He's from Gardena. He's been charged with 1 felony count of assault upon a peace officer, resisting arrest, and advocating violence against an officer that has caused injury. At 5 p.m. on June 8th, Mr. Rodriguez allegedly passed out commercial-grade fireworks to a group of protesters who lit them and threw these commercial-grade fireworks at police officers at the intersection of First Street and Los Angeles Street. He's also accused of throwing the fireworks himself at the officers. And one of these fireworks exploded and injured an officer from the exploding sparks. If convicted as charged, Mr. Rodriguez will be facing 6 years and 4 months in state prison. Second case, it involves Randy Paul Ruiz and Georgina Ravallero. Both have been charged with 2 felony counts of assault upon a peace officer. On June 8th, at approximately 3:40 p.m., police were holding a skirmish line at the corner of Temple and Alameda Streets when Mr. Ruiz allegedly drove his motorcycle into a line of officers. Minutes later, Ms. Ravallero is accused of driving another motorcycle into the officers, injuring one and knocking down several others. If convicted as charged, Ruiz and Ravallero each face up to 6 years and 4 months in state prison. Third case, Timmy Polk and Raven Mitchell. This case involves both of these individuals being charged with 1 felony count of second-degree commercial burglary and grand theft. On June 8th at about 10:15 p.m., Mitchell was double parked near a Nike store in the 600 block of South Broadway that was allegedly being looted by a group of people. Polk is accused of stealing multiple items from that store and getting into the car driven by Mitchell. They fled, but they were arrested a short time later. If convicted as charged, they each face up to 3 years in state prison. The next two cases are Los Angeles Sheriff's Department cases. Sheriff Luna will provide additional facts about these cases, but let me just give a quick overview of each one. Ulysses Sanchez. Ulysses Sanchez has been charged with one felony count of assault with a deadly weapon, possession of a firearm by a felon, and one misdemeanor count each of reckless driving and possession of a smoking device. On June 8th at 9:35 p.m., Mr. Sanchez engaged in reckless driving in his minivan in downtown Los Angeles. Many of you saw the video footage of this where he was driving in donuts and injuring individuals. Mr. Sanchez is a third striker. If convicted as charged, Mr. Sanchez faces up to 25 years to life in state prison. The fifth case is Christopher Gonzalez and Yoselyn Johnson. In this case, they have both been charged with one felony count of conspiracy to commit vandalism and two felony counts of vandalism as well. On June 9th at 6:30 p.m., Mr. Gonzalez is accused of vandalizing an apartment complex down here on the 500 block of South Broadway, and Mr. Gonzalez allegedly painted graffiti right here on the Hall of Justice. They each face 3 years and 8 months in state prison. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Sheriff Luna to go into greater detail. But again, I cannot commend enough the tireless work that law enforcement has brought to this task to try and keep us safe and still ensure that people who want to legitimately protest get that opportunity. Sheriff Luna.
Thank you, DA Hochman. Thank you all for covering this story. I do want to start off not only by thanking all of you for being here, but I do want to take just a quick second to thank the district attorney. The day after the protest started, he called me. He told me he was assigning a special prosecutor to deal with violence against our deputy sheriffs or any other related police officers. And I really appreciate that, because just for a quick second, if you could think of the mindset of our employees having to leave their families and coming to work, to know that they're going to be in the middle of some of that isolated chaos that you've seen. It is good to know that when they are being violently attacked, whether it's with rocks, bottles, Molotov cocktails, pyrotechnics, pepper spray, I could go on, that they know that the individuals that we're going to focus on them, and we have a district attorney who's going to bring forward charges. And just really quick, I received the same call from the U.S. attorney here in Los Angeles, and I think all of you saw something earlier today where he is doing the same thing with federal charges. So I just say that, and Mr. Hochman said it perfectly and articulated it very well. There's a big distinction between individuals that protest and demonstrate to violent, destructive, basically anarchists. I mean, just creating that chaos. What we're talking about are the individuals who don't care about the issue at hand, because we will facilitate all peaceful First Amendment activity. But when you have people that are out here to commit acts of violence against our deputy sheriffs or police officers, or they're destroying our city, we're going to stop it. You see it, it's frustrating, and as the days have gone on, arrests are climbing, and now the prosecutions are taking place. And just this warning, because if you didn't get caught the last couple of nights, there's a lot of evidence out there, and you're probably going to get detectives or others knocking on your door and arresting you and bringing you in for either committing all these acts that we've talked about. So just a little bit on some of the cases. On Saturday, during civil arrest in Paramount, a local gas station was burglarized, looted on Alondra Boulevard. After the unlawful assembly concluded, Compton deputies responded to the gas station to secure the location and take the reports of the burglaries that had occurred. While at the location, an individual shouted at them and threw 2 full cans of beer in their direction. And I don't think it was to say thank you. It was for the opposite reason. The deputies ordered him to leave. However, he refused and threw a 3rd full can of beer at our deputies. Based on the suspect's assaultive actions, deputies used less lethal force, specifically a 40 millimeter baton launcher, striking the suspect. The deputies were able to immediately handcuff the suspect without any further incident. The suspect, 20-year-old Eduardo Cervantes, a resident of Linwood, was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. He was released on his own recognizance yesterday at the Compton court. Separately, 2 suspects arrested for felony vandalism here at the Hall of Justice. On Monday, deputies were driving in the 200 block of Temple Street near the Hall of Justice when they observed an act of vandalism in progress. They witnessed a 20-year-old Christopher Gonzalez Reese defacing the south wall of the Hall of Justice building, not with a spray can. He was literally standing there with a paint roller, a very long stick, and writing graffiti over an area measuring about 18 feet by 12. The suspect was using beige paint, and the content of the graffiti included profanity directed at a federal agency. The same suspect was previously identified as the same individual who was observed committing a similar act of vandalism on the south wall of a building located in the 500 block of North Broadway. In both occurrences, a second suspect identified as 40-year-old Jocelyn Johnson appeared to act as a lookout and was observed video recording the acts of vandalism. Following the second incident, deputies contacted both suspects and took them into custody. A search of their vehicle led to the discovery of large buckets of paint and a 10-foot extension pole believed to have been used in the commission of these crimes that were described. Both suspects were arrested and booked on felony vandalism charges. Just as I wrap up and before I turn it over to my partner, Chief Jim McDonnell, I just want to reiterate, we will facilitate the peaceful protest, and thank God 99% of them are taking place in this one square mile area here in the city of Los Angeles, and then when you saw in Paramount and Compton on Saturday. We are going to do everything we can to protect our employees when they're being attacked. So if you come to demonstrate, that's great. If you come to throw things at us, attack our employees, you're going to get arrested, maybe not that day, but later, and you're going to get prosecuted. And not only may you serve significant time in jail, but there's going to be fines behind that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief McDonnell, and I'll be available for questions after he has completed his portion.
Thank you, Sheriff Luna, and thank you all. Good afternoon. And again, you'll hear some common themes here, certainly. I want to start by expressing my sincere gratitude to all of our officers and deputies on the lines for their professionalism and dedication. They've been asked to work long hours in dangerous and unpredictable conditions, and I'm grateful and proud of their resilience. I also want to thank our dedicated partners from local, state, and federal agencies for ongoing partnership and unwavering support during these challenging times. The Los Angeles Police Department recognizes and supports the right to peaceful protest, but when individuals choose to weaponize that right, by assaulting peace officers, endangering lives, or committing crimes under the cover of a crowd that is no longer a protest, that is a crime and it won't be tolerated. 3 individuals have been charged with felony assault on our officers, including the use of fireworks and motorcycles to cause harm. These were deliberate attacks. Acts that injured officers who were simply doing their job out there to protect the public. Let's not forget our officers face uncertain and often dangerous situations every day, and their risk to their lives has been even greater over these last few days. I've watched Molotov cocktails and fireworks shot mortars being launched out of tubes at our officers. They're encountering routinely M-type fireworks and commercial-grade fireworks, which in the state of California are considered explosives, and they can kill. Our officers should never have to face targeted violence while standing on a line to protect others. I want to thank the district attorney for pursuing felony charges in these cases. It sends a strong and important message. If you assault a peace officer in this city, or this county, you will be held accountable. Additionally, I'm also pleased that there are charges related to looting and vandalism, crimes that took advantage of the unrest to target businesses and city property. In one case, a retail store was burglarized and tens of thousands of dollars in merchandise were stolen. In another, graffiti was sprayed onto a historic public building while an accomplice stood watch. These crimes don't advance any cause or further any message. What they do is harm to our communities, our small businesses, and our civic institutions. The LAPD will continue to investigate all incidents thoroughly and work with our partners in the DA's office to bring every offender to justice. We remain committed to protecting First Amendment rights, restoring peace, and holding criminals accountable. I want to thank our officers, our partners, and this community for their resilience and cooperation throughout this event. Thank you.
And before we start with questions, I also want to thank the two members of my office that have worked around the clock to bring these charges. Alva Lynn, who's our head deputy of our charge evaluation division, and Deputy District Attorney Michael Blank of our Crimes Against Police Officers Division. Now we'll take questions. Yes.
So earlier today, Major General Sherman said that National Guard members have detained some people. They've already done this and then immediately turned them over to law enforcement. Can you share a little bit about which law enforcement they went to, how many detained?
We're still working out a lot of the communication and coordination with the Army, who is in charge of the Marines as well. So I don't think whether Chief McDonnell or I have heard specifically about that. I'm almost positive, but there is some guessing in this, that when he's talking about law enforcement, he's talking about federal law enforcement. Because one of their missions, from what has been described to us, is other than protecting federal facilities, they are protecting federal employees or federal law enforcement. So they're going to be going out together from our limited understanding thus far, and I think that's exactly what he's talking about.
Thank you.
I understand most of the people arrested are not facing the serious types of felonies that you're describing. They're probably going to be referred to the city attorney for less serious failure to whatever those allegations would be. In recent history in Southern California, hundreds of people have been arrested on those allegations at protests, and then the city has made the decision not to prosecute any of them. And I'm curious if you're going to take a different position or what your thoughts are about that as it relates to the people arrested in the last few days.
So you are correct that there are certain crimes committed, misdemeanor crimes committed here in Los Angeles City that would be the jurisdiction of the city attorney's office. I have spoken to the city attorney, Heidi Feldstein Soto. She takes these crimes very seriously. I don't want to speak for her ahead of time as to the types of charges she's going to bring on these various violations. And you're right, they can, even misdemeanors can span a spectrum from failure to disperse, from violations of curfew, onto even more serious violent actions or actions involving theft. So I can tell you, having spoken to Ms. Feldstein Soto, that she and her office will be taking these violations very seriously. I don't think we have a precedent that was set in prior protests. I will tell you from the district attorney's office, which didn't bring charges in connection with the prior protests, starting today, you've heard we are bringing these charges, felony charges. We consider the actions, particularly the actions against law enforcement, the actions against public safety, the actions defacing, as Chief McDonnell said, historic buildings, extremely serious. In many ways, I've been, well, not in many ways, I've been a lifelong Angelino. I've been here over 60 years in this city and in this county. These people who want to go ahead and not protest and not engage in legitimate speech, but want to go ahead and commit crimes in our home, we're going to protect our home. We're going to make sure if someone wants to throw cinder blocks at our police officers, we're going to protect our police officers and hold those people accountable. They want to go ahead and write disgusting words all over our public buildings, we're going to go after them as well. They want to steal from our stores, we're going to hold them accountable for their actions. And that's the way I view it. That's the way the district attorney's office views it. If you want to come into our county, into our home, and commit crimes, you will be arrested, prosecuted, and punished.
Two questions, if I may. The first one being, all three of you have spoken in some regard about outside agitators or anarchists, I've heard. Obviously, you also respect the rights of peaceful protesters. I'm wondering if you can provide any evidence of maybe organization from anarchists. Have you been able to trace a certain group that's behind it? Obviously, you've highlighted 5 cases of men and women doing destruction, but is there any other evidence about anarchists or people that are coming in here with organized intentions?
I'm limited in what I can respond to that, only because there's ongoing cases, but I can assure you that all of us up here are looking to see if there is a conspiracy of some kind, organization. There is some evidence we've seen that I don't want to share at this time, and it's not because I don't want to talk to you about it. It's because we're focused on arresting those individuals involved and bringing the best cases forward. Some of them may be to the district attorney, but highly likely to the U.S. attorney, where we're working with some of our federal partners to look at that angle of exactly what you're asking for.
Then a quick follow-up for the chief. And this is coming from somebody who's been here for several days and have watched how your law enforcement officers have conducted themselves and have used less lethal rounds, from my perspective, only after being agitated by other people throwing things. However, there is a video now circulating online of less lethal methods being used on a woman, not quite a protester, standing very close to officers, being fired at with less lethal methods. Also a caveat that we do see these police officers give her multiple warnings, but I'm wondering if you can comment on the use of those methods at such a close distance as someone that did not seem to be posing much of a threat.
Yeah, I can't speak to that individual case because I'm not aware what the follow-up was. But each one of these we see generates an investigative follow-up. We will look into it thoroughly and then, look for all the video we possibly can out there, body-worn video on the officers, and then a video from the environment there, and put together as best we can what the circumstances were.
Perhaps then you could speak to people out there who may not understand that a warning's a warning, or that maybe officers would take that step.
Yeah, thank you for that. The bottom line is, once we give a dispersal order, it's because things have gotten out of hand and we're trying to restore order, and you are ordered to leave that area, and the officers are going to clear that area. And some of the tactics used involve less lethal munitions. And certainly, while they're way more accurate than they were in years past, certainly there's also times where they potentially hit a target that was not the intended target. So if you're in the environment and you're told to leave, please leave, because for your own safety and the safety of everyone around you.
Chief, do you know what's going on in Boyle Heights? I just saw a video when I was leaving my office to get over here. There was a white car and then 2 silver cars. I think it was an SUV and a silver truck. Came up, caught off the white car, and 2 people hopped out. I mean, they looked, like they were, I couldn't tell if they were feds or local officers.
Right.
And then they detained that driver. Any idea what's...
Yeah, I've heard about that too. I haven't been able to find out more about it at this time. I know that Hollenbeck units were dispatched to that, so once we free up here, we'll figure out what was going on out there more.
Chief, and just to kind of follow up on that question, just trying to understand, does that mean that you guys have begun use of force reviews on some of these incidents?
Oh yeah, whenever anything happens of significance, we start looking at it right away, try and capture all the video we can, any other evidence we can right away.
We're going to take a couple more questions.
There's one particular question I wanted to ask. There was an arrest of Luz Aguilar. I believe she's an aide to one of our council members. I was wondering if there was any information regarding that arrest, if there were any charges that were posted for her and her sister, Antonia Aguilar?
Was it when you talked about? No. Yeah, no, I'll have to follow up with you to see what those, if there were charges filed or not on that one.
Maybe if the sheriff could just clarify what he had said earlier to the question about the National Guard now being given authorization to detain people. How would it work then, I suppose, and it sounded like from the previous answer you were saying they're only really there to detain those that are causing harm to federal officers, but I don't know, how would a handoff work to local law enforcement if the National Guard was to detain, say, a protester?
Let me clarify that. What's been communicated to me thus far, and we are asking for more specific communication from the Army, which the National Guard is falling under them now, along with the Marines, is that they've expressed to us that they have their mission is split up into 3 areas. That it is to protect federal functions, to protect federal facilities, and to protect federal personnel. And as far as I know, and again, we are all in meetings trying to increase our communication and coordination with them. So we're still asking for specific clarification. My understanding at this point is that they do not have the powers to arrest or detain. So if they are out in the field, they may be there, but they're working in conjunction with federal authorities. It could be ICE, Border Patrol. There's a whole host of acronym federal agencies that they're working with. But again, not knowing that specific incident, that's where communication and coordination is critical.
right,
Sheriff, do you know, are the Marines here? I've been hearing since Sunday they've been on their way. And what are we, Wednesday?
I would be guessing if I try to answer that. Again, I'm just going to leave it at this. We are doing everything we can. I know Chief McDonnell and I and our staffs are doing everything we can to improve our communication with the Army so we would know those specific questions. And they were just activated, I think, Sunday? So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And first of all, I just tell you, I've never served in the military. I have nothing but respect for people in the military, whether they're soldiers in the National Guard or Marines. They are our soldiers. So we're doing our best to put them and ourselves, and primarily our community, in a position so that we succeed together moving forward. Because frankly, we're all in an extremely difficult situation right now that none of us have ever been involved in, including the military.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assistant District Attorney Maria Ramirez is going to give us some remarks in Spanish.
I will briefly summarize the DA's statements in Spanish, and then any questions in Spanish can be directed at the individual agencies afterwards. Estamos aquí hoy para anunciar los cargos que ha presentado mi oficina en relación con las protestas migratorias que han ocurrido en los últimos días. Primero queremos agradecer a los cientos de oficiales y diputados de agencias de todo el sur de California que han protegido nuestras calles y mantenido a Los Ángeles seguro. No importa la hora, día o noche, estos oficiales y diputados se han puesto en peligro al ser llamados para garantizar que las protestas fueran ordenadas y pacíficas. Desafortunadamente, eso no siempre sucede y deben ser elogiados por su trabajo. Aunque las leyes de inmigración están bajo la jurisdicción federal y no dentro de la autoridad de nuestra oficina, reconocemos el impacto real y profundo que estas operaciones tienen en la confianza entre las comunidades de inmigrantes y la policía local. Todos en nuestro condado, sin importar dónde hayan nacido, merecen sentirse seguros al informar un crimen, solicitar ayuda si son víctimas de un crimen o participar en el sistema de justicia sin miedo a represalias o separación de sus seres queridos. Esta oficina apoya el derecho a protestar pacíficamente y la libertad de expresión, pero si ponen en riesgo la vida de los oficiales, dañan propiedad pública o participan en actos de violencia bajo el pretexto de la protesta, los haremos responsables. A partir de hoy, nuestra oficina ha presentado casos contra más de 12 personas en relación con las protestas migratorias. Estos casos se encuentran contra, primero, Juan Rodríguez, está acusado de un cargo de delito grave de asalto a un oficial de paz, resistencia al arresto y promoción a la violencia contra un oficial causando lesiones. Randy Paul Ruiz y Georgina Ravellero están ambos acusados de 2 delitos graves de asalto a un oficial de paz. Ulises Sánchez enfrenta un cargo de delito grave de asalto con arma mortal, posesión de una arma de fuego por un delincuente y un cargo menor de conducción imprudente y posesión de un dispositivo de fumar. Christopher González y Jocelyn Johnson han sido acusados de un cargo de delito grave por conspiración para cometer vandalismo y 2 cargos de vandalismo. Timmy Polk y Raven Mitchell enfrentan un cargo de delito grave cada uno por robo comercial en segundo grado y un robo a gran escala. Hemos referido 3 casos a la oficina de la fiscal de la ciudad de Los Ángeles para consideración de presentación de delitos menores. Quiero recordar a todos, aunque ha habido número de arrestos, no todos esos casos se presentarán a nuestra oficina. Algunos casos serán presentados a la Oficina de Fiscal de los Estados Unidos y a la Oficina de Fiscal de la Ciudad de Los Ángeles. Se espera que casos adicionales sean presentados a la Oficina de Fiscal de Distrito para consideración de presentación. En algunos casos, las personas que fueron arrestadas han sido citadas y liberadas. Esos casos aún no se han presentado. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, everybody.